All right. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is a panel discussion about a gap year experience, and we have a number of guests with us tonight to talk about what a gap year experience can look like. We first have Tiny LaRosa, and she is in Missouri, if I've got it right, serving AmeriCorps, but she'll get clear information to you once she introduces herself. But she's currently doing AmeriCorps and is a 2021 graduate of our BSW program. We have Mitchell, and he is our current Vista volunteer at NCCU's Campus Pantry. And we have Brittany with us, who is with the College Advising Corps, and she's going to tell us more about that opportunity. And then we have Reverend British Hiram's with us, and she's going to talk about the parent experience, as she has 2 young adult children who participated in their gap year experience. So I'm going to take it over to Tiny, and if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience and how you got into it.
Yeah. I'm Tiny. I'm actually in Mississippi. Um, yeah. My campus is in Mississippi, and so I did my social work in NCCU, and when I graduated, I had already like 6 years, over 6 years of being in college, and switching out of 2 majors that weren't really fit for me. And so I just kind of took my shot, and I was like, somebody had mentioned social work. And so when I finished social work, I felt like I wasn't ready to do social work yet. I didn't feel like I knew um, the American society as well as living. And I felt like I didn't know the people and the culture. And so I thought Professor Armstrong recommended AmeriCorps, and uh, it scared me because it was like being away from home for the first time, and but it offered health benefits and the idea of like being able to travel and work with a bunch of nonprofit, and it was I think I'll that's it's been the biggest decision that I've made for myself, and I don't think I'll ever regret the choice of making it. It scared the hell out of me, but excuse my language, but it definitely offered a lot of personal growth, and definitely it heightened my wants of being a social worker. Um, every single day, I'm practicing social work, and just the competencies is just cycling at the back of my mind over and over again, and really just um, it really just confirmed that this is what I want to do. Getting to help and work with a bunch of nonprofits, getting to travel, getting to work with my teams and my team leaders. It really offered me a lot of personal growth. Um, Even though I felt like I didn't need a break, it was good to have that break and kind of just honestly just get to know myself a little bit better. Uh, that's where I got
Thanks
it.
so much thank you for sharing, Tiny. And I think that personal growth thing is, you just can't define that part of it. It's such a huge part of taking that gap year. So I appreciate you sharing that. Um, all right. Mitchell, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hello to the people watching this. My name is Mitchell. As Ms. Armstrong said, I'm currently serving in the AmeriCorps Vista program here at NC Central University in the Campus Pantry organization on campus. So yeah, very candidly, I didn't take a gap year. I actually, finished my undergrad and went into a master's program and then took on this opportunity afterward. But I definitely knew about AmeriCorps, probably around my junior year of undergrad, and just kind of, looked into it, figured out what it was, maybe started an application, and I can kind of talk briefly about that process, but just kind of was able to understand what it was and meet there, at least at that time, there was part-time and full-time opportunities. And I met some on campus that I was in an organization where they were kind of leading the charge of that initiative and just kind of was interested in it. But, you know, I could go in a lot of different directions with this spiel, but just to say that I had the opportunity to take on my master's right out of undergrad. It was, it felt right at the time. I still think it was the right decision for me. And I think it offered advantages when it came into this position afterward. And I serve with a cohort of Vista members that are serving basically in the College Hunger Corps or after school corps programs under a sponsor organization for this Vista thing called Campus Compact. So it's a lot of titles and roles just to say that the AmeriCorps program has been around a little while, and I think 50 plus years at this point, and it takes ways and shapes through different sponsoring organizations. It kind of has evolved and really adapts to what the country needs. So this, I mean, at the crux of it is Vista's Volunteers in Service to America. So it's about finding opportunities and service projects all around the country. And, and as you'd expect, it kind of latches on to nonprofits, to universities, to other kind of service organizations that are doing good in the country and just kind of looking to build their capacity, looking to support their mission. So this particular chain of custody is the AmeriCorps program down to Campus Compact, which is like a regional organization, nonprofit dedicated to, in this case, North Carolina in service and student service and advocacy, and then the College Hunger Corps program looking at food insecurity in a college context. So that's where I kind of found it along the way. So that's one child of it, and kind of knowing about Campus Compact while being in a North Carolina university system, while also understanding AmeriCorps and just kind of, you can really attack or take on AmeriCorps from different angles and from different ways. And I just would encourage anyone, even if you're slightly curious, to just go on the website and click around the programs and opportunities and initiatives. There's not necessarily prereqs for specific initiatives, and you could truly be placed all across the country. So if you're looking to be in a particular region of the country or in even a particular city, that's where you can kind of play around with filters and search engines within the AmeriCorps program to find things you're passionate about, because it just kind of aligned that I was graduating from my program. I wanted to stay in the North Carolina area. I had some relationship with food insecurity and just kind of understanding the passions that I was curious about, and then finding this opportunity to stay really local, even though other cohort members have come from out of state or just kind of moved across the country to do this program. It can really be what you make of it, but it does require a little bit of searching. You just kind of have to dig through the opportunities and programs and then be proactive, because you're being aware of deadlines, or just kind of if I'm thinking about something for next year, or if you're a junior, you're first semester senior, you're thinking about that program, how you're able to think through that. Because, I opened my first application back in probably 2017, but then applied to this program till 2020. So just kind of being aware of it, and even starting now, no matter where you're at, to see the opportunities. And I have enjoyed it as much as I started by saying I didn't necessarily take a gap year, but definitely do see the advantages of it. And other members of my cohort are in that position. So they kind of took it as a gap year and are just able to, not necessarily be totally aloof or just not do anything, but it's just kind of an opportunity to really take skills in that undergraduate education and that college degree, that accomplishment, and go out and do something with it, at least in a step to what's next, whether that's grad school or the professional world or some other skill or trade. But I probably rambled way too long about that, but definitely happy to be a part of the conversation and get people interested in AmeriCorps.
Can I just ask one quick thing about what did you find to be the benefit of doing this after graduate school? So for those folks that do just go run straight through because that's what they feel like they want to do or need to do, but then are like, wait, hold up. Just your experience about what the benefit of that is.
Sure. Yeah. So I don't mean to scapegoat this answer, but I graduated in May 2020, which was the start of the pandemic. So that was definitely this just horrible time for the job market, just not a great time to find any opportunities. That was really kind of my entry level thing. And then because of other factors, not necessarily having relevant job experience for what I was looking for, and just kind of all things to say that this was identified as like the stepping stone. Like it's a great opportunity no matter when you're taking it. And even if you're, taking advantage of it later in life, like if it's a career change or some sort of identity redevelopment to say that, hey, I want to look at this opportunity that I have some skills, I have some expertise. My master's program was in nonprofit studies and kind of running a public administration. So just it was aligned there, and just being able to say, wow, this program is willing to invest in me and just give me the opportunity to try some things out. And I think I've reflected that it's not an experimental role. You don't get to go in and just blow things up, which I never wanted to do, but it is an opportunity to kind of get into a community, know that you're giving great service. And while it's a high sacrifice, there are things that you're definitely giving up going through a year of service and taking that pay cut. You're taking some things that don't necessarily meet that true or traditional entry level job. You're definitely getting a lot of benefits, and even the basic benefits like healthcare and access to other resources. And it's also kind of it's a low intensity field as well, that while it's a rigorous full-time position, again, it's that opportunity to still be growing your professional skills, still being in a great environment, a great sponsor organization, and working with like-minded people. You're like immediately connected to this network of thousands of service members, and you get to kind of be a part of this community where you can share ideas and be connected across the country. And all of a sudden your network has just exploded in terms of people you can connect with and be of the like mind around service oriented individuals.
Thank you. And Tiny, if any of the conversations that we have throughout this sparks anything that you'd like to add, please feel free to do so. Thank you, Mitchell. Brittany, would you mind going next and talking about your service corps?
Sure. So I am Brittany Watson, also a 2011 graduate from North Carolina Central University. And so I represent the Carolina College Advising Corps, and we are also AmeriCorps affiliated. We hire and train UNC Chapel Hill students, seniors, and then we also just this year was able to create and get the go and the green light to now add on North Carolina Central students as well. So we will be hiring graduating seniors, and we will be placing them and training them to be in our low-income, underrepresented first-generation high schools across North Carolina. And so with that, we are in the schools, and our advisors are in the schools helping with college access. So everything that you can think of, college applications, RDS, FAFSA, scholarships, resume writing, we're doing that. And so with being a CPAC member, AmeriCorps member, it has given us the opportunity to grow our program and help out our advisors. And so with that, we do provide a living stipend. With that, we also provide the education award. So it has to be, you have to complete 1,700 hours with us in the schools. And so with that, you would get a education award. I think next year it's about $6,500. And so with that, you're able to apply that to your undergraduate loans, should you have them. And then also looking at graduate school. And we really promote this as a gap year experience to prepare our advisors for the next step. And most of the time that is graduate school. And so while they're in the schools, getting that firsthand experience of some of the social justice issues that we have, some of the economic disadvantages that some of our students have, is giving them that firsthand experience, but also preparing them for what's next. So we do a lot of professional development, doing like a course series. We're doing resume writing for the advisors themselves. We do a 4-week-long training over the summer to prepare our advisors for the schools, for their students, for families, and then also for themselves. We also have a national summit that we have with all the other corps across the United States. And so this year, if COVID stays where it's at and kind of lower, we will be in Philly. And so that's exciting for professional development for our advisors. With the experience that we have with AmeriCorps and with our core, we promote graduate school. We provide resources for our advisors. So if there's an LSAT book or MCAT book that they need, we do supply that for our advisors because we want to make sure that they are successful. We are starting partnerships with business schools, pharmacy schools, just different universities to allow some admissions going on there. We are heavily known across the state, and so even out of the state. And so a lot of people see Carolina College Advisor Corps on our advisor's resume. And that's definitely in AmeriCorps, and it's definitely something that I think helps them get through the door, at least to get the interview, and just them allowing themselves to say who they are. And so that's just a little bit about us. We are in the hiring process right now. We start July 5th, and so we are going to be hiring all the way up into there. And so, yeah, definitely reach out, and I will give my information at the end of this. And Ms. Armstrong also has my information as well. But we are definitely hiring and looking forward to starting a partnership with North.
And we'll put the some of the links to the jobs within the description and that sort of thing too, so that folks can have it. Thank you, Brittany. Reverend British, do you want to go next?
Sure. So if you happen to be interested in a Christian faith-based gap year experience, the Presbyterian Church USA offers the Young Adult Volunteer Program, YAV, Y-A-V for short, a little bit of our lingo. And it is a faith-based year of service, much like what you've heard from others today, ages 19 through 30. So this could be a gap year after high school, between college and graduate school, or between jobs if you need it. So it's very flexible. There are both national and international sites. However, there is only one date still left, June 1st, for applications, which includes national sites only. In this program, you live in intentional Christian community. A lot of the reflection that's done is from that faith-based perspective. So while you're still partnered with nonprofit agencies and organizations in whatever area you go to in the US or abroad, in the community that you're living in, it is a discernment and faith-based community so that you grow in your faith, apply the things you're learning to your faith, and maybe even discern your path forward, leaving that space. And so it has some of the same benefits that you've heard about with others. There is healthcare insurance, there's a stipend, those kinds of things. And so it's a year-long August to August program. So that's why the last deadline is June 1st for applications, because they will orient in August. And there are different site coordinators that help in the different areas to match your interests with the people in their area so that you can be paired up when you get there. I have had two experiences. One is pending. So my daughter did this between undergraduate and medical school. She was sort of like Tiny, a bit tired after her undergraduate career, knowing that medical school was going to take a lot out of her. And so she actually went to the Philippines. She didn't really rest or anything over there because, it was different culturally and all that. But that's what she did between undergraduate and medical school. And now I have a son who is actually approaching the 30-year-old mark, who is doing it after, having spent a long time getting through college and then working, and now really looking to level up his life and having reached a maturity level where he feels more ready to do that. And so they've used this in two different ways, and whatever way you need is okay. And so that's kind of the basics for that. And Laura will put the website that you could look for more information about the young adult volunteer program there. But from a parent perspective, I would just say that, I don't care how old y'all are, your parents are still your parents. And the more information that you can give your parents, the better. Gap years have really exploded in how common they are now, but some parents may or may not know that. So just providing the information that parents need to understand that this is a really valid option. And maybe to make your case, maybe they're like, wait, you need to start, paying those loans or making some money or whatever. And just really keeping them involved in the process, because they'll be a big support for you, because like others have talked about, you may be going away from home, maybe way from home. And so not only is that a little scary maybe for you, but also for your parents. That's probably the biggest thing, is making sure that parents have more than enough information. And with mine, we just establish a relatively regular communication routine to be able to support them from afar, is what my husband and I have done. So those are probably the biggest things from a parent perspective.
Thanks so much. And just to share a little bit, I did Vista out in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, and I did the Young Adult Volunteer Corps in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I took a gap year and switched it into 3 years and did 3 different service opportunities, because I just wasn't quite ready to step into the career life. But personal growth was a huge part of that. And yeah, I loved each one of them for their own reasons. Is there anything that anybody else would like to add to this conversation, or would they be helpful to students as they're making these decisions?
So I'll add, a lot of times with our advisors, they're not quite sure what they want to do. And so this is a great way to be able to figure out what you want to do, but then also helping someone else. We always tell our advisors to think back about who helped you during your college process. And a lot of them always say, well, I kind of did it on my own, or the counselors at the school were really consumed with having 400 something students on their caseload. And so this is just an opportunity for you to figure out what you want to do, but then also being able to help someone else while you're.
Anyone else have anything else to add?
Oh, someone joined and left. Maybe just to piggyback off Brittany, just to say that, I would defend that any major, any kind of degree that you kind of are pursuing AmeriCorps with, you can be successful. Like, I talked about how I came from a master's of public admin, so it was like really aligned to be like working in a nonprofit kind of entity. But I really do believe that, sure, you major in something and that's great. You can still do whatever you want to do. Like, this is still an opportunity. I guess I get caught up with people feeling like they're stuck with what they did their undergraduate degree in, or might feel like it was a waste to go in a different direction. But it's never too late to be thinking about, maybe something else is out there for me, or just to say, this is a break from that. Like, if you are, if you got an engineering degree and you plan to go to a research lab or something, this isn't going to, disrupt that. It's a service year. It's a kind of a, I don't want to say higher purpose, but just a higher exciting gap year. Like the true idea of this gap year, like you're taking a break for something, but it comes with this intentional commitment to this, level of service. It's everything, while it's kind of got this American patriotism, overtone in a way. I don't necessarily adhere to that myself. Like, I understand we take this big oath and it kind of comes with that in the training, but really, as what you make of it and what you bring to it, if you're showing up every day and you're really thoughtful to the work and you're like, wow, I can actually make an impact on something, even though I come from a degree program that may not align with this organization, or may not at first think the values are there, but I'm catching myself just talk again. But it does go back to building those skills. Like at the end of the day, employers are looking for critical thinking, they're looking for teamwork, they're looking for communication, and those professional skills come from an AmeriCorps experience, even if it's not necessarily aligned in your area of future job aspirations or that career that you're looking for. So maybe coming back together and boiling that down to a good point is right. This, regardless of what you're majoring in or what your kind of long-term plans are, this is a great opportunity to just, again, build that professional standards and self-discovery. It's that good mix of self-discovery and identity, but also that professional, like I get to be in a workplace environment where I can hold myself accountable, I can meet goals, I can practice what I would do in a workplace, and be able to showcase both of those things in a rockin' resume and kind of provision to those next steps.
And I guess I'll add something too. Like on the traditional side, whether you're coming in as a core member or a team leader, you definitely get to build up a lot of leadership skills. A lot of they've actually added having AmeriCorps work at hospitals, and so a lot of our teams in my unit have gotten a lot of experience and networking in in the hospitals. People who weren't interested in hospitals, they're now getting that connection from doctors and surgeons and nurses to be able to work at get a job at the hospital. We've had team leaders who came in taking a gap year from med school, from engineering, a lot of different backgrounds, but ultimately they've found that like what they came in as, they won't be leaving as the same person, um, because they've just gotten such a big impact with working with different nonprofits. We've had TLs who had a business degree and now he's considering uh, just working as a site supervisor with like Habitat for Humanity. We've had a lot of people work with disaster, and pretty much they found out what they want to do and what they want to do in life and their new interests. So I definitely like taking advantage of that, having that personal growth and knowing pretty much where you want to be after.
Tony, that's a great point. I think so. Kind of in our Presbyterian speak, we call it vocational discernment. I think
Mm-hmm.
there could be some surprises when you go to these places and engage in this work, that you're surprised at what's in you that is pulled out. And the good thing is that all of these programs are working with trusted long-term service providers. So it's not a fly by night that you come in and do something and then it's not sustained after you leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the work goes on with these organizations, and these are all opportunities to walk alongside those organizations that have put down stakes and said, we're going to be here for the long haul, helping in whatever area this is, but you come in for a short time to help them do that. That's awesome.
I really I don't regret joining the on the traditional side of it. I'm coming back with skills that I never thought I would have, like mucking, gutting, um, building stairs, or helping build a home. Um, and so it's a really humbling experience. And I've definitely used a lot of my social work skills, especially when it comes to like helping core members or TLs, especially on the mental health side of it. Um, but you really do get to meet a bunch of people. You get to just pretty much you get to have fun and also do the work um, at the same time. And yeah, I hope a lot of and applications are still open for core members and team leaders on the southern eastern side of it.
Excellent. I think that was a great way to round it out. And again, I'll be putting some links to this video so that we can get people to put in applications and just start it. I love that idea. Just start it and see if it ends up happening this year for you or 5 years down the road, but there's no harm in just getting it started. So I thank you all for participating and giving your insight into this gap year experience. I think, and I guess that's it for tonight. But thank you all for participating. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having me.